Hey guys, Thomas the Jr. here, aka Mustached Tom, here to review the movie Spies in Disguise. If you end up enjoying this review, then consider joining my Patreon page. There'll be the second link in the description below. Any donations are desperately needed. Anyways, time to check out Spies in Disguise. Now, I did not see any trailer, or not a lot of trailers for this movie. I knew that it featured Tom Holland. And then after watching it, I was like, oh, that's Will Smith as the main character, or as the main spy. Okay. Um, and then they have like a Dr. Claw like thing. You can see him in the background on the right side of the poster there. Anyway, getting into the actual review, the movie starts with a very small boy named Walter, who is the character we follow. Or at least partially follow. His mom is a cop. And she says to him that one day his gadgets will save the world. And thus, 14 years pass, and we cut to Japan, where we meet, I think this is his name, Lannister or Lan. The full name being Lannister, I think, and then I shortened it in my notes to Lan. So I'll refer to him in my notes as Lan. This is the character that Will Smith plays, by the way. Moving into this area in Japan, this like little shack area. So he goes in for this briefcase, which is his mission. And he's like going on about how he like, appreciates doing the mission in solo style. As he's watching in, a buyer comes in and proceeds to buy the briefcase. So he breaks in via using this, cutting out the water and making it flood. And apparently this buyer guy knows Lan and uses a gadget. Lan uses a gadget that makes pop out cat glitter. The guards do get distracted enough, which allows him to grab the case for very briefly and glide away. So we cut to DC, and Lan returns, and everyone's like, "Yeah, woo!" We see that he is super popular among his co-workers, but he's a little pissed as well. And he goes straight to Walter, who has been the one altering his devices, making the glitter come out, and immediately is fired. So we are introduced to our FBI agent, Mercy, I believe her name is. I'm not 100% accurate. I'm not 100% sure that is her name, but that's what I wrote in my notes. So, anyway, she comes in saying that the case was like stolen or something, and that the case that he has nothing inside, and that he is wanted in for questioning. So Lan is forced to try to escape, and so he does. And Mercy gives chase. So he manages to escape, as I mentioned, and we cut back to the North Sea, where we meet the main bad guy, and he manages to attack while looking like Lan. We then cut, or we see the fat mob boss, the one at the beginning, doing like a little spiel or whatever. Anyways, Lan finds Walter, because he was like, I should probably be invisible. Oh yeah, that Walter guy was like working on some invisibility thing, or whatever. So anyways, Walter has a mom passing complex that's introduced, at least for him, but not to Lan. And he's trying to continue on with his little test, and Lan comes in, drinks the test water, or goop, or whatever it was, and he gets turned into a bird. From there, Lan fires Walter again, so he gets double fired. They move into the car, or move to his car, and the agents are quick on the case. Meanwhile, they oil slick their way backwards into safety. They get to an airplane where Walter, in excruciating detail, mentions how birds have cloacas. That's the area of which birds do the crap and the pissing, apparently. Oh, and the sex, obviously. So it's the multifunctional bird pleasure area. And yes, it's in the movie, so that's why I'm mentioning it. Cloaca. Fun. Anyway, Lan ends up, has a little imagination section where he imagines shooting at Walter out of the skyline or whatever. From there, he makes some bird friends along the way. Walter already has like a other female bird who seems like attached, like sexually, I guess. It's always like rubbing up against him. I don't know. So, anyways, he finds the mob boss Kimura. I wrote down in my notes, so I'm assuming that is correct. And Mercy is still on the case, though, still tracking him down, or trying to. But Lan manages to find Kimura and tries to knock him out, but you know, Walter does that process instead. So they get the info out of him using a truth serum. And Walter, like, falls down using the grappling gun because they end up, like, getting chased by the agency. They get information on the target. And this vomit bird who has like this thing inside him like knocks out all the other agents while they're traveling or trying to keep chase. We cut back to the bad guy. He's like updating and getting more and more pissed. So now Lan has like 4 birds. He has the fat bird, he has the bomb bird, and he has the female bird. And we see that the new test that Walter was working on is failure. They go on about like, oh, fire, like the situation that you get yourself into is like the equation of fire, and with that, if you fight fire with fire, you're gonna end up getting yourself burned. That is the analogy Walter uses on Lan. So anyways, and he kind of goes on about how evil always will try to take down the good guys. So we cut to Italy, where the agents arrive, and the agents are using the mom angle to try to pepper in Walter, trying to get him to expose the location of Lan, even though he's a bird. And a big explosion happens, which causes everyone to freak out and move on in. So the bad guy, still as Lan, is like fighting them off with his drone. And it turns out he has a various amount of drones that he's gonna like send out. So Walter like is like driving away and then knocks himself out briefly. The bad guy takes him down, and when Walter's about to meet his match, he uses breadcrumbs while they're surrounded by birds, and they all bird attack him. Anyway, he manages to escape with the drone, and Walter hugs Lan as a bird. Anyway, the agents check in with Mercy, So she picks up one of the feathers that he left behind, and she's like examining it. So, anyways, they're in the submarine, and Lan is given like the new antidote after like he's like, "Oh, you're a female too," so that the change in the DNA sequence or whatever, something like that, and then does the thing. So Lan suits up properly, sends Walter away, sneaks in. He still has some of that bird influence as he's changing back. But the bad guy sends out 1,000 drones or something along those lines. Meanwhile, he's trying to assault the bad guy, and he gets caught in the process. So, the bad guy sees that Walter is trying to return to the best of his ability. The bad guy shoots out 2 drone missiles, and then you just see the explosion happen. But Walter, we see later on, uses one of the balloon gadgets we see him use earlier. So Walter, at this point now, is trying to take control of his metal arm. The birds are like fighting out the drones. The agents are like coming in. They're now on Lan's side, seeing the obvious truth. The drones arrive at the base as well. A big battle between drones and agents and birds ensues. And Will Smith uses the YouTube Rewind meme line, and I'm assuming that's just actually something Will Smith says that they decided to use in the YouTube Rewind. That's hot. That's hot, that line. Anyway, Walter gets dragged by the bad guy. He uses the the bubble when they're in the air, and hacks the guy's arm, so he's like trapped in the bubble. So he's like Walter's like falling, but Lan uses the bird serum on himself. I guess there's still some left. Turns back into a bird, gets all these other birds to help him, like help Walter like fly into like a safe zone. But then we see both of them get fired again. While they're in the car, we see the 2 of them in the Mercy get a call from the lead agent who says like, "Oh, Walter, your gadgets will lead us into a new future and to future missions." And we see a little montage of like their next mission with Walter and his various amounts of gadgets, closing out the movie. And that was Spies in Disguise. Yeah, this movie feels like it's meant for like a younger audience in terms of like it feels relatively safe in that regard. Very obvious bad guy with the claw. Definitely feeling like an Inspector Gadget callback. Walter having that upbeat but weird personality, and them using that throughout the movie as like, "You're weird," and then like the mom being like, "Your weirdness is cool. We need weird people. They tend to be cool." Turns out that's the case. And of course we have Lan, who goes through the character development of thinking like, "Oh, it's all about the solo mission," and it makes sense for him to be through that because we hear him later on talking about how he's lost people in the past. So the reason he's so desperate to stay alone is to make sure that other people stay safe. But it turns out that bringing people in who know what they're doing, who are able to help in other ways, can make up for that lack of confidence or like lack of like, "Oh, you're not gonna make it," or whatever. So pretty good. Not sure why they went with a bird gimmick, but I suppose that's fine. Like, out of all the things, it does seem like a little odd, but they do bird things with it, I guess. It's probably like the oddest part of the movie, if anything, and it does take up the majority of the movie. Um, Again, I did say this movie was for kids. I'm not sure if kids should know what a cloaca is, but you know, whatever. You know, I don't know. It's odd thing to mention. Odd line is what that is. Anyway, you know, I give it a 6 out of 10. I think that's a decent score. You know, it does what it does. It's pretty enjoyable. Um, Definitely. Um, I do feel like Mercer, the female agent, does get a little bit downplayed in terms of her character. She's just in it for the chase, and then suddenly is like, "Oh, you're a good guy now." You know, it does seem a little bit. That part individually does seem a little bit rushed by comparison. Um, Other than that, pretty solid. Uh, so that's my review of Spies in Disguise. And if you enjoyed my review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. 100 to my Discord server, there to my Patreon page. Any donations are desperately needed. And until next time, everyone, bye bye.